Okay, go live. Hello and welcome to today's stream. My name's ArbieG and we are back with the final round of the Superformer series. So it's round 6 out of 6, so it's the final round, that's why it's called the final. And you'll be with us for the next hour and quarter with myself, ArbieG, and this week joining me, I've put your name down as a Denchurion, but I'm always just going to refer to you as Al. So hello Al.
I'd request you call me just Dench. That entire thing.
No,
you can call me whatever you want. I don't care.
Call you Barry. So
yeah, I've been hovering around these last few races, so I'm quite happy to get in and put my voice over them and spurt my knowledge.
Spurt your knowledge, yeah, and give us just keep an eye on the track and keep an eye on what's going on, so we can try and cap as many incidents as we can. So we're in practice at the minute. Probably going to be starting race at about past, so that's in about 8 minutes from now. Shall we have a look at the standings, Al?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Standings we have in the minute is we've got Kevin in first place with 124 points, and I believe he's already in position to win. I think even if he lost or ended up with a DNF, I think he'd still win. So congrats to Kev already. Jonesy in second place with 79 points. We've all got Legion, who I don't think's racing today, or I haven't seen him appear yet. He's on 60 points in third place. We've got Asimo in fourth place with 51 points, Elite in fifth place with 40 points, Happy in sixth place with 38 points, Uber in seventh place with 35 points, Beaver Boys in eighth with 24, Tom's in ninth with 24, and Tiengo's also in 10th with 24. So we've got a lot of people tied up for eighth place. So it'll be interesting to see out of those three which one comes out on top, because I believe all three of them are here today. We've got Beaver Boy, Tom, and Tiengo. So we might have a little bit of a.
I haven't seen Tiengo out there.
Tiengo's. I think I saw him join. If I press on 9, that might be him. Oh, I thought I saw him join. He must have. I don't know if he's just simply not registered yet, but I did see him join the lobby. So we'll wait and see.
So we'll keep an eye out. Otherwise, it's going to be between Beaver Boy and Tom to battle it out down there.
But in terms of other sort of places a bit close, I think everyone's quite spread out apart from there. So
yeah, we shouldn't see much movement at the top of the table if Legion's not going to be joining us this evening.
Timo, if he pulls out a good race, jump in front of Legion through Legion DNF if he's not coming. Elite, I have to admit, I wish I did some research about how many points you can get each round, because I genuinely don't know. So we just have to wait and see anyway. But yeah, it should be a little bit interesting as well with Kenobi, who I don't think is in this race as well. We've got Langster and Fraser in 11th, 12th and 13th, but a few no-shows this week. At the moment we've got 9 people registered to race. Kind of hope we might see a couple more before we start away, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, so the eyes are really going to be on the battle between Elite and Uber, kind of 5th and 7th. They could be swapping a few places, only 5 points there, and then from 8th down to maybe even Lancaster's not in there. 8th down to Kenobi, really.
Yeah, we've got interest. We should see a bit of movement hopefully. So
yeah, depending on the results, Rezarf is sitting in there, so it's down at the bottom of the table or mid.
Rezarf is clarified. His name is Fraser.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the battles will be. So it'll be. I think eyes should be more on the back of the grid instead of the front.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with Elite. Sorry, not with Elite. Sorry, with Legion possibly being absent today, it kind of looks like we're looking at the top. A good chance of Kev taking the win, but we've also got the outside chance of Jonesy as well, who ran a blinder last week and just knack a second place. So we'll wait and see what pans out there. The track today is Autopolis, I think it is. Yeah, Autopolis International Speedway or Raceway. I don't know exactly what the name is, but you guys know the track. It's a good track, quite a technical track, a lot of mid braking and amid throttling. So it should be pretty interesting to see where people afford the overtaking opportunities. There are a few places on this track key to overtake. The massive hairpin right in the middle, a lot of overtakes happening there, and obviously heading into turn run and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting today. I was going to say the battle between Kevin and Legion when I was coming up to this earlier, but if he's not here tonight, then the rest of them should really form a chasing peloton kind of mentality and start using each other's slipstream to catch up with Kev.
No, I mean, if Kev's got himself a big gap at top, everyone else is going to have to work together in order to try and use whatever advantage they've got. So
just a massive conga line of shake and bake.
But, Kev's already got the series in the bag, so he doesn't have that much pressure from his point of view. So, but it's still good to see people who are fast out there on track putting in a good race.
I'd say if I'd imagine Kevin's probably got a bit of competitive edge to him, so you never want to lose a race, because he's not saving up any energy for anything. So we'll hopefully we'll see him pushing himself out again.
Yeah, it'll be good to see what damage you can do this race. I'm going to keep an eye on Simo this race quite a lot as well, because he ran a really good race last week, and I felt like I missed a lot of what he was doing. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Worth shout out for Tiango as well. He had a few people supporting him last week, and he held a solid 4th place for most of the race, keeping up sort of with Legion and that. We're only a few seconds behind, not able to close it, but at least keeping up with them. I think he had maybe a mistake in the last lap. He ended up losing a couple of spots and finishing in 6th or so, but he did run a good race, so we'll keep an eye out for Tiago, which you can see now. He's now registered as our 10th person on track, so we've got 10 people.
Oh, brilliant! We have a good battle there in the middle of the table.
Definitely.
GT Rabbit asks, what are our predictions for tonight's race?
I think it's hard to look beyond a win for Kev. 2nd place, Jonesy, maybe Tiango. Elite can pull it out every now and again as well. I know he did pretty well early in the series before I started commentating. I think 2nd place is interesting, but I think if I was a betting man, Jonesy, I'm gonna go for 2nd, and then 3rd, maybe Tiango. Again, it's quite hard to tell. I'm just going based on a couple of races I've seen, so but it'd be interesting to see if anyone can take me by surprise. But if I was to put my money where my mouth is, that's sort of the top 3 I'm going for. How about yourself, Al, or indeed anyone else in chat? Feel free to join in. Make your predictions for the top 3.
Rabbit has gone for Legion, but unless he has joined fairly recently, I don't think he's in tonight's race. Or unless he will join later on.
He joins last minute, mate. I haven't seen Legion join yet. I don't know if he's taken part. I hope he does, because it makes for a more interesting race, and that would certainly change what my prediction would be. But I think without Legion, we're looking at a 1st place for Kev, a 2nd place for Jonesy, and a 3rd place. I'm going to go for Tiango, but I think 3rd place is up for grabs by a few people. I think if a Lankster was in the race as well, I'd probably push him into the top 3, but again, I haven't seen him join in yet, so we'll wait and see who's here. Legion's running late, according from Josh.
It's good news. At least we know he's in the race.
Josh, just give me a heads up that I'm quiet compared to the other commentators, so just give me 1 tick and I'll just boost that up a little bit. Thanks for the heads up. Filters.
Make sure to talk a bit quieter, just to give you that edge.
Right.
Start whispering.
Boost it up a little bit. Let us know, Josh. So it says we've got in chat Legion is running late as well. So I don't know if that's a nod that he is going to make it on track, and we might be a few minutes late to start off. But we'll wait and see what it's like when we get away.
Either way, I think it'll be fairly interesting if Legion is or is not there. Because if he is there, then he's going to be pushing Kevin, and that is always a good battle up front, Legion versus Kevin, who comes out on top. And if he's not there, does Kevin have the mentality to hold 1st place when no one's around him?
It's also that.
Because that's often a battle for marathon runners and kind of cyclists and anything long distance, is if someone is clearly out and no one is pushing them, do they have that mentality, that ability to keep pushing themselves even though no one's around?
These guys are pretty well experienced at like the 1 hour race. I think they're, they feel. I mean, I know they're starting a super endurance series on Sunday, which is a 3 hour race. Which they asked me if I was interested in a commentator. Now I was like, no, I'm not. It's too long. What happens if I need a wee? But no. I think these guys are quite well versed to the hour stretch. But I start to notice, I try to take part and stuff, and I think beyond the 40-minute marker, I notice a lot more errors and mistakes. And Kev seems to have his head in the right place and seems to have the zone. But like you say, Al, when you're out in front and you're by yourself and there's no one for you to be trying to push against, there's a chance that you become a bit complacent.
That's it, because it sometimes works for your favour if you're sort of in the middle of the back of the pack. There's no pressure, you run quite a nice clean race, and you find you catch up on the the rest of the pack in front of you. But when you're out in front, everyone's pushing for you, but you're holding it back a bit, making sure you stay within the lines, you hit the corners nicely, and you don't make a mistake and let them catch up, which in itself means kind of not pushing yourself as you should be.
Right, I've just turned down you as a little bit.
Oh.
No, it's just I think it's just his mic seems a bit loud, so I assume he's referring to you. And Josh in the chat is a beaver boy in the race, so noted.
We will keep an eye out, and I mean we'll be kind to everyone. There's no harsh words here.
This is a place of friendship. Although if anyone does anything stupid, I won't laugh because I'm the first one to do stupid things. I took part in the Beetle races last week, the series. I put a video up on my YouTube channel where, like, literally the second race I ever sort of took part in these guys, I pretty much dive bombed someone into the second corner. Although I was the worst to come out of it, so I don't feel that bad. But yeah, it's not a great start.
It's always good when you get your comeuppance.
Exactly. Karma's a bitch. I'm sure eventually someone will smash me off track.
Eventually. What goes around comes around.
We're on board at the moment with Uber, who's just setting some laps. Fastest lap time at the minute's been set by Kev, a 1:27 flat. So
I'll be interested to see how Uber runs this time. He's kind of floated in that middle of the pack, but I'd pin him to maybe get a third.
Always, the way I read Uber from when I see him racing is he comes up with a strong strategy. Maybe not the fastest in terms of absolute pacing compared to the front runners, but he puts together a strong strategy and it usually earns him up a few places. So, be interested to see what Uber does this week.
I've got to love the livery. On Uber right
just say hello to Nathan. He's here to support a Team THG from America, as well as our ART and KRT friends. A lot of abbreviations here, folks.
Well, there's Tiengo, obviously ART, our boys, and Kevin.
Yeah, as part of Team HKRT.
Yeah.
So
it's basically supporting everyone.
That's what we like here, though. A bit of support for everybody is what we're about.
That's it. And so no matter what goes on, Nathan's both going to be happy and shattered. As his boys come top of the leaderboard and bottom of the leaderboard.
Okay, Alistair, challenge for you. How are we pronouncing the guy in this car here?
OK Cranger.
OK Cranger? Or OK... A verdict in the chat, please. How are we pronouncing this? OK Cranger? That's how I'm reading.
OKC Ranger.
It's alright, Chris. Just for the heads up, we're keeping you entertained by trying to work out what our pronunciation approach is going to be for.
My approach is, if I don't know any part, if I can't really figure out how to pronounce it, I just take the word that I can see in there and pronounce that. AKA just Ranger.
Or we could do what the pros do and say it slightly different each time.
I mean, that if we want to make it on the big screen.
If you want to make it in the big boys league.
you got to confuse everyone.
Josh votes for like Ranger, but Cranger.
That's what I've gone for.
We've got Josh here. Hey Josh, how's it going, man? He's here supporting Elite Digits, who is I always see as like a bit of a wild card in the race. Like the times I see him race, in like one moment I'll see him in 4th, the next moment he'll be in 12th, and then I'll look back and he's in 7th. So yeah,
that's what we like. We like the wild cards who can push themselves at all aspects. High risk, high reward. Roadrunner Dan is saying smash that like button and hello to everyone.
Right, yeah.
That's it. So
that is good advice.
Yeah, it is. Both saying hello, very polite, and then to smash the like button.
You don't have to smash it though. You can lightly press it if you want, as long as it gets pressed.
Tap it.
Ultimately.
Tap it on your mobile devices, or click it if you've got a mouse, or if you've got a trackpad, just tap it. So many different ways in the future.
So yeah, no, it's really good as a small channel at the moment with only, I think we're on about 70 to 75 subs here. Even a like or sub goes a long way with smaller channels. So yeah, show a bit of support.
It really does.
And it will help us out a lot. It looks like we've got Legion joining the room.
He's in. So there we go.
So top 3 predictions now, guys, in the chat. Anyone who's not taken part. I'm going to go for Oh, I wanna go for a Legion win, but I think it's going to be Kev. I'm sorry, because I know that I've actually been talking with the Legion. I don't really speak to Kev, and I feel like I'm being a bit traitorous. But if I'm looking at it with, I don't know if Legion's got any practice time in or anything like that. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with Kev. Kev first, Legion second, and Jonesy third. That's my prediction for this week.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of Legionnaires in the chat, but I'd have to stick Kevin up front, Legion at second, and I'm going to say he's going to surprise everyone, and Uber as third.
Okay. Are you going for Uber third? Mix it up a bit.
I am. He is a wild card, but wild card can play out.
Brett's asking who's leading the championship. Just while I didn't start, I'm happy to bring the standings up again for Brett. So there's the current standings. We've got Kevin leading the championship. He's actually already won the championship as far as I understand it. So it's already secure for Kev. With Legion in, I think the top three are pretty much secured where they are, unless Legion runs a very poor race. So I think really where we're looking for movement is really, that 8th, 9th and 10th places really. Be interesting to see what happens between those three, because we do have Tom, Beaver Boy and Tiango all in this race. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top of those three. But I think when we look at the top of this series, we're not going to see much movement out of those top places from this race. I think the gaps are too far, and the people where you think they're going to sit in the race, I think it's going to be. I think things are pretty much secured how they are.
Yeah, otherwise you'd imagine it have to be someone running a sublime race and someone else completely messing up, having a huge mistake and just dropping back.
Dan with great reason last night. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Dan. We had some times in some Red Bull Juniors. Oh, let me just flick to somebody who's not just standing outside the track. Had some time in Red Bull Juniors Tier 2. There was only a few of us, so we just flicked around and messed around on a few races. Good laugh, good fun. If you're here just interested, if you ever wanted to take part, definitely I do recommend getting involved with private leagues. It's so much better than trying to take part in the public races and stuff, and I definitely recommend taking part in ART, which I've put a link to the Discord and all the socials below. But it looks like we're getting away now with the qualifier. So we've got a 15-minute qualifying session in front of us, and as always, Elite is first out on track. So let's just sit on board whilst people do their hot laps, and then I say we start with Kevin on the first lap. How do you feel about that, Al?
Yeah, I think we get the pace setter really out with Kevin, and
we follow the race line that Kev set on the first lap, and then we'll flick around and hop between and see how the progress is doing.
So we've got quite a long straight at that start-finish line, which I reckon be quite interesting throughout the night. A lot of battles around that first corner.
I think you're going to see a lot of that, and a lot of in the corner we're just about to come up to, just after these next two turns. You've got this really tight hairpin proceeding, like quite a long uphill and sort of a downhill. This and the straight preceding it, I think we're going to see a lot of overtakes as well. But outside of that, the rest of the course is quite a technical track, so tricky to find spots to overtake. I've raced here only a couple of times, normally in Group 3 cars. I think specifically I remember some really good races in the Ferrari Group 3 car, but it's one I've certainly not been on in the Formula before, so it'd be really interesting to see how it runs with it being such a technical track. It looks like Kevin's already sitting behind Elite. I don't know if he's going to sit behind him for his fast lap, see if he can use a bit of slipstream just to get a bit more time out. But we'll sit on. No, he's going to give him a bit of room, just earn himself a bit of room. But let's go on board now with Kev as he comes around to the final corner of his outlap, and let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah, really allows him to pick up a bit of pace before he comes into this start-finish line, and then you'd imagine he's just going to.
Well, part of me is to kind of try and push up, maybe even push up to Elite to maybe get some slipstream out of him from out the very end, just eke a little bit, a few extra attempts out of his lap. So we're coming round now to what is the second corner, keeping it nicely on the apex there, and keeping it nice and tight, drifting through here in fourth. Which
got a nice control on this like little tight adjustments as he's coming into a corner. Sometimes you'll see him just like wiggle slightly as he makes his last second adjustments, but he remains perfectly in control.
A little wiggle.
It's always beautiful to watch.
We are a fan of a little a wiggle here. As he comes in now to the tight hairpin, you can see the gap he's already pulled up on Elite.
hugged in the inside corner really nicely.
Hitting his apexes seemingly quite nicely. So through here, quite soft and gentle. I think he's just getting himself in a banker lap at the moment. I don't think he's really going for the fast lap. So when we do a banker lap, that's basically we push the car pretty hard, but we don't push it as hard as we can. So we just bank ourselves in a really nice time before we try and push, which might result in a spin off or something like that, you know, and then you end up with a really bad time.
Now, will all these racers be really familiar with this course already, or is this for some people?
I imagine
you need a couple of laps to really get that.
So we've got a 1:26.8 there from Kevin, and let's see the times as they come through now as we go through one by one. So Simo with a 1:29.2. A Digital Blasphemy with 28.3, Tom with a 29.4, Legion with a 28.1. Let's just go back. Next one to come through is OK Granger.
Well, I think
136.4, Fraser with a 137.4. So a pretty diverse field there, and Uber with a 128.1. So yeah, quite a diverse field. Beaver Boys come through with a 129.3. And Jonesy with a 129 flat. So we're going to go on board with Legion now and see how he's doing. Has he banked himself a 128.1? So
Tiengo with a 127.
Tiengo coming in with second place lap there. So Legion at the minute finds himself 1.3 seconds behind. Just coming up to the hairpin now. Tucking in nicely, taking a later apex there. A little bit of slip on the exit. Using a bit of his overtake juice.
So going to Roadrunner Dan, this is Granger's second league race.
Oh man,
it's very new
good for him
to the circuit.
We'll give him a bit of love and show him a bit of time and see if we can keep an eye on him and how he's progressing. It's always good, even if you're out with a lot of faster races. You always, number one thing is you've got to be racing against yourself more than anyone else, trying to improve your times and just trying to get quicker and quicker. A race against yourself before anyone else. But Legion's going to come in now with a 128.1, so wasn't able to beat his time there. Sort of pretty much bang on time. So he's going to come in and swap tyres now, and we're going to go on board. Let's go with one of the back runners. Anyone you want to shout out to have a look through?
Let's keep an eye on Tom. I don't think we watched Tom too much.
Yeah, no, Tom currently with a little bit of traffic behind him. At the start of his lap, this is just his out lap though, so we're going to go to somebody else who's not on an out lap. People just trying to get out of the way there, or people who think they might be on faster laps. Quite respectful here. If you're on an out lap or anything like that, you just kind of try and get out the way of people so they can get on with their fast laps. So we're going to go on board. Let's go on board of Jonesy. As we know, he's on a fast lap. He's so currently in 6th place, a little bit behind in terms of where he was able to pull in last week. He's running his best at a 128.8, so he's almost 2 seconds behind Kev at the top. Coming up now to the uphill section, up to the hairpin, and running on soft tyres. So he's not opted for the super softs. He's gone for the softs, and took a nice line there. You see his apex was a little bit earlier than what we're watching Legion. When he coming through that hairpin was coming out with quite a late apex. Definitely not what Jonesy was doing. So maybe somewhere that Jonesy can try and grab a few more extra attempts out of this lap.
Yeah, it seems to be holding maybe a couple of seconds off a good pace, but not too bad on that.
Coming up a bit of traffic here behind Digital Blasphemy. Hopefully he might be able to use him to just grab a bit of slipstream, maybe earn a bit of time up, but I don't know if he had to slow himself up there. I don't think so, because there's still a comfortable gap between them both. But let's see what times he comes in now with a 129.2, so he's not able to improve, and currently still 6th place as he's popped himself on the inside, probably be looking to go back into pits. So let's go on board with Uber. Actually, Uber sitting up in 3rd place. He's on his 5th lap, so pretty worn tyres on the super softs. His best time was a 128 flat, which he ran on his first lap. But as you see, it's been slowly grinding down with a 31 and a 33. So let's see when he gets past one of his sectors, see if he's on his fastest lap, and he actually catches a little spin there. And I think that's the end of his fast lap, as he lets a few people go past. Let's go on board with Elite now, who's currently in 9th place. best lap so far, 129.4. So
he's been all over the place.
Yeah, it looks like he's had a couple of slip outs, and now he's swapped back to what looks like a relatively fresh set of tyres, I think.
Yeah, but he seems to be on his best lap so far. That little segment there was coming a few
looks
tenths
like
up.
Kevin has improved in qualified time with a 126.4, so really pushing people now. Looking again quite favoured in terms of pole or position, but we'll keep an eye on some of our front runners, Tiengo, and we'll keep an eye on Legion as well, see if they can make any damages. Tom comes in with a 129 flat, and Simo comes in with a 128.7. That's a good time there from Simo. Limo? Don't know who that is. Legion, 127.2, so he's setting a best time, pushing himself up to second place now. And Elite with a 128.5, pushing himself up to 6th, putting in a great lap there. So good to see Elite pushing up as he pushed up right behind Digital Blasphemy, but Digital Blasphemy's come off the line for him, but I think he might have already lost quite a bit of time, even just on that corner there.
Yeah, had to push himself quite wide to avoid the contact. Didn't know who was trying to get out of whose way there, but yeah, gave himself a couple of seconds there.
So we're on board now with Simo, whose current best time is a 128.7, running his second fast lap he's about to do now.
Yeah, so he's quite a few laps behind everyone else, so hopefully he's got a bit of time just to warm up those tyres. And
he runs a little wide there, and he's unfortunately had an incident, had a slip out, and unfortunately he's going to have to wait to come back on track with the traffic that's coming. So let's jump on board. That's unfortunate there. And let's go on board with Tiengo. Actually, we haven't been on board with Tiengo. He finds himself in third place after setting a really, really good first fast lap, and even that he almost beat it again on his third lap with a 127.8. Looks like he had a slip out last lap with a 141.7, so he's going for it now.
But a good bit of consistency around those front three laps, which is always good to see. You like to see that consistency instead of one good lap and then the rest sprint around, because you want to be able to replicate every single lap.
Definitely. So. Yeah, really interesting field so far. A couple places I certainly wouldn't have called yet. First two to be expected, but Tiengo as well. I kind of called. I thought he was doing well, and he thought he was doing well last week. And he looks like he has gone into pause now or something, because something's just stopped going fast. And he's not. It's not the end of the session, is it? No, he's back on. So and it was his out lap. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of lag there. He seemed to like drift across, but. Apologies, didn't realise he wasn't on his out lap by the looks of it.
So just to catch up from chat, we got ex-team boss coming in saying good evening, y'all.
Oh, nice. Hello.
THG Rules saying hello from the Netherlands.
Oh, hello from the Netherlands. Hello to the Netherlands, I suppose. As opposed to hello from, because I am not in the Netherlands. So let's go on board with Beaver Boy now. Look a bit further back.
Rabbit is claiming Uber is on it, so we'll have to keep an eye on him. And then Manos going for Mattia and says hello ART. Roadrunner Dan agreeing with me that the Jaffa Cake livery on Uber is fantastic, top notch, and it is lit as it can get.
So Beaver Boy, pretty worn tyres here. I'd be expecting if you're trying to set a qualifying time, you'd need to switch those tyres out, get something else on. You've still got enough time remaining to get yourself in the pits and do another out lap and get yourself another fast lap in, as long as you're past that line by the time you start your lap you want to set. But I'd say even if he did his best here, he wouldn't be able to beat his best time with tyres out of that worn on his soft. So definitely wants to get himself in and get those tyres changed if he can. So let's jump on board with someone else. Let's check Fraser and see how Fraser's getting on. Best time, can't actually tell at the moment because it looks like he's come in and recently changed up to tyres. I can't see anything on the screen.
Running on the super softs, and they look relatively fresh, so he should be able to set a decent.
Yeah, he's currently out on his lap, on his out lap, so he's going to have one more lap to do. Good Granger, been out for a while. Looks like he's got onto super softs as well. 135.9 is his best time, so I think he's just come in completely just as a reserve. So he's looking like he's actually using qualifying as his practice to find his line and stuff like that. So hopefully he can get himself a little bit of consistency and work out where he wants to be, and hopefully just do enough at the back to input in a good race, which would be great. As Kevin comes past, and he's doing the right thing in terms of giving the faster runners a free run to be able to do what they need to. But let's go back and look. I actually missed it, but Jonesy put in a good lap and finally turned up. Kevin puts in a 125.7. So it's a second and a half in front of anyone else. Unbelievable lap there from Kevin. But Jonesy as well has also stepped up his game and just pipped in front of Legion ever so slightly with a 120. Well, I assume it's not. Yeah, a 127.2.
What's that? 50th of a second.
Yeah. It's not even that, is it? It's tiny. It's half a tenth.
What still gets me is no one has hit that 26 margin to even keep with Kevin.
I think we've got Legion running out on soft, and you've got to remember tyre types as well. Kev's been hitting this qualifying on super softs, and that's because he wants to start the race on super softs, whereas Legion and Legion's gone with the soft, so he's going to be starting the race on the soft, so he's going to have the tyres that might run a bit faster, might run a bit longer than Kev's. Jonesy's gone with the super softs, which is like he's actually changing his tyres over now, getting a fresh set on to see if he can got enough time to set in one more lap. He should be able to get around the track. He's going to have to zoom around the track to make sure he's there before the timer counts down, but it looks like he's timed that right. He should be able to get through. Let's look at the state of play for everyone. So Tiengo looking like he's on a fast lap as well. Pre-worn tyres, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get into that 127 bracket. He's hoping to maybe crack into the 126s. Uber are still running on this really good first lap. Still sitting in 5th place, so he's put himself in a great qualifying place for the start of the race. Still running with his best time is a 128.0. It's probably more closer to a 128.1.
But he's bringing those times back in recent laps, which maybe he's pushed it fast to get that lap in there, slowed it down a bit to get that management going, and then speeding it back up. So as soon as he hits the race, he's flying.
Like I said, I've always been keen on Uber and his strategy, as he cuts a little bit too corner on himself there and gets himself a penalty for maybe just trying to dive into the corner a little bit too early. So unfortunately that's going to have an impact on his lap time and the lap time afterwards. So that's kind of the end of the qualifying station really for Uber. Digital Blasphemy, I'm sorry, I don't think we've actually been on board yet with a Digital Blasphemy. I don't remember we have it.
He's sitting on his out lap at the moment.
Yeah, so he's going to want to try and get over the finish line by the end of the time remaining, which I don't think he's going to be able to. So unfortunately, that is it for Digital Blasphemy. A 128.3 looking like his best time, which looks like it's going to get him 7th place, depending other people coming in. But those top 3 aren't far from what I called it. Just the difference between Jonesy and Legion. So Jonesy currently on his last lap. He's actually put in his best section at the minute, 1/10 down on his time from before. Legion, let's see where he is in terms of the splits. He's actually a little bit in front of Jonesy, so he'll be finishing up his lap sooner than him. But let's see what he is in terms of his split times. Well, I've got a finish there. Don't know why that appeared, because it's clearly not finished.
Took a bit of time left.
Yeah.
But he seems to be running this fairly smoothly, quite well. So hopefully
we haven't had a split section yet, so we don't know if he's up on his time. But let's have a look, and then we'll jump back to Jonesy, and he's actually 2 seconds behind his best. So Jonesy, who was a split up, which we're not sure, even if he does manage to beat his time, Legion's not going to come in unless Tiengo, who I think, like I said, has already sent himself out as the lead. I think we're looking at almost a finalised qualifying board here.
You don't imagine him hitting that.
Yellow flag up in front, so someone's come off track. Simo, unfortunately, he's come off track on his last lap. And Jonesy now coming in with his best time of 126.
Oh, 26 and a half.
So still 8 tenths down from Kev. So Kev looks like again he has got the fastest lap in him out of everybody. Although, like I said, we've got to bear in mind Legion run on the soft tyres. Definitely wouldn't be able to get to those kind of lap times without probably a little bit more time. But it'll be interesting now to see, obviously going into the race, how that's going to impact. We've got no one else putting in fast times. I think that's just we're waiting now to transition over to the race.
I'll say you see Kevin. He doesn't seem to be able to be caught with his straight lap times, but now it's down to the tactics. You've got to hope that someone pulls it out of the bag in terms of tactics. Yeah,
he is quick, Dan. Very fast. It's great though to watch people of all school levels really, so it's interesting to watch, and certainly stuff that you can learn from, anyone can learn from. So there's our grid. Kev first, Jonesy second, Legion third, Tiengo fourth, Elite fifth, Uber sixth, Blasphemy 7th and Simo 8th. Let's see if we can get away to a nice start today We'll stay on board with Kevin and flip our way back to middle of the grid as we go through. It gets rid of the telemetry sometimes when I go into a race. You can see at the bottom all the telemetry's gone.
No.
We can see as we got away now, Kevin away with a nice start, keeping on to first place. Tiengo's managed to climb himself up a place into second place. And Legion's had an off, unfortunately. We'll take a look back at that replay shortly and see what happened there. But Legion is off early in this race and finds himself at the back now. And Kevin looking like he's holding first place there. We'll go back and watch that replay shortly of a Legion coming off as Tiengo has a slip there himself. Catch himself a little bit, and Jonesy's able to capitalise and push it up now to second place. So yeah, that Legion off early in the race. Be interesting to have a look back on that, providing I press the right button, because I did a bit of practice with that this week. Tiengo looks up on the inside, puts his nose in, actually makes it stick. Jonesy having to ford the room, actually gives him a knockback.
Bit of a collision
there. I think Tiengo put his nose in and probably dived in a little bit too aggressively. Certainly be one that they want to review back and have a look at. I'm not here to speculate about whose fault is what. I'm just here to comment on what's happening in the race. So we're going to go back and look back a little bit now. Uber sitting in 6th place, and a lot of action here with Beaver Boy making a little bit of contact there. Uber and Beaver Boy up and up alongside each other, but Uber able to capitalise and just get it in front now. Beaver Boy.
Someone just ran off the track.
Oh, was that, sorry?
Someone just ran off the track in that last little second.
I completely missed that. Let's have a look back and see who we've got at the back. So Legion now finds himself up in 10th. Going to have a lot of work in front of him in terms of trying to climb up, but it should be quite fun for him to at least have a bit of work to do. And let's see now. I know it's a bit early, but let's go back and view that replay of the start if I press the correct button. As Tom actually finds himself coming off there. Nope, that clearly didn't work correctly. So that's a shame. It just gives us a freeze frame of that. I was under the impression it would give you from the start of the race, but Legion had an off there really early on. Really unfortunate. Still got Tiengo and Jones here at the front here with second and third place. A little bit of bad blood, I feel, with a little bit of an exchange and a bit of a kickback as well. So gonna have to keep an eye on this and see how this progresses through the race.
But Tiengo's opened up a bit of a gap and seems to be pushing on it.
But then again, you see there, Jonesy grinding it back down again. And I think when you look at those lap times, certainly in qualies and stuff and sort of previous races, Jonesy might have the pace on Tiengo. Hopefully he can cool down a little bit and manage to make the pass in a couple of laps. Simo then follows up in 4th place with about a 2-second gap that seems to be growing a little bit, but he's getting himself in a nice little gap between Jonesy and Uber, with a 2-second gap either side, so it's quite a spread field there. And then we've got Uber leading quite a tight pack here, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out in this pack with Beaver Boy sitting just in front of Elite, and looks like Legion's now up in 8th place, and he's going to actually go up on the inside right and let's go on. He's actually managed to get past Elite there, managed to make that pass, and is he going to make it stick? I'm going to get the telemetry back up when we get a moment. Actually, you know what? A moment is now, guys. I don't know why it goes off for. It's really strange. There we go. Telemetry is now back up so we can see what's going on with the inputs and stuff. But now Legion finds himself in 7th place, following behind this pack behind him. Needs to work his way through if he's got any hope of trying to push into that top 3.
But what helps him is he's got a lot of people to stick behind and try and get that slipstream in and just keep propelling himself forward and
pushing. But you know, we've got Jonesy here still maintaining that rough approximately 1-second gap between himself and Tiengo. But we're disappointed that replay system didn't. I think I double pressed C when I went to do it, and I think it created a new split, so I really need to get used to this. But looking at the back, what Digital Blasphemy down in 10th place, so probably a little bit down from where he expects to be. Fraser and Elite in front of him, but now this group has started to spread out a little bit, and everyone's trying to find their position in the race. Just behind him, we've got Tom. Oh, as Elite makes a slip there and gives Fraser the chance to just dip in front of him. So a slip out there from Elite has seen him lose a position, as you saw there, just in front of us.
This has been a very good start from Fraser, who I think started off in 11th.
Yeah, so
now crawled way back up to 8th, which has been a very, very good start for him.
Uber there with the best lap time for himself with 1:29.4, so setting some decent race pace for himself there. Finds himself in 5th place, but still a lot of pressure from behind. Gonna have to either try and pull away with a Simo or even try and make a pass on an attack. He actually puts in the best a section there. So best action section of the race so far. So he's got definitely the first third of this race nailed down.
He's got Legion really coming up.
Legion's going to be wanting to make the pass, so Legion's going to be pushing up on people as he actually maybe pushes a little bit too hard and gets a little bit of oversteer, a little bit of the back end spinning out on him as he's coming up now to the hairpin. Again, he's running on the soft tyres. Remember, most people around him are running on the super softs, so Uber in front of him on the super softs. Simo actually on the softs himself. Jonesy is on softs as well. Tiengo's on super softs, and Kev is himself on softs as well. So a lot of different tyre types out there that we've got to consider. I think this one's still a very important one. Tiengo has pulled that gap now to just over 1.5 seconds. It actually pushing up to 2 seconds now. So he has pushed up that gap again, but again, look at the tyre difference we've got here. Now, what is interesting to me is although Tiengo's on the super soft, looking at the tyre wear, it's not much different. If I flip between them, you can see there's
I'd call it
about the same. So tyre wear wise, even though he's on the a softer compound, he's not slipping out as much and not wearing his tyre as much as what Jonesy is. He's probably trying to push really hard.
But do you think that could have also been from the little bit of collision
possibly,
we saw right at the beginning between Tiengo and Jonesy?
A little bit of contact there. Be quite interested to talk to guys after and find out what happened there, because it was a bit of a kick out there from Jonesy, and Shumi wasn't happy about the pass that Tiengo made on the inside there. Legion still sitting behind Uber here, still quite a tight pack. Beaver Boy with about a second half behind, so they've kind of split away into their own three now. I'm going to push back a little bit because we do have a few close people here. Fraser sitting half a second behind Tom here, so actually he found himself dropping back a little bit from where he was. So hopefully he can get on a bit of a push. Oko Cranger still about 30 seconds behind at the back of the pack and just trying to keep himself on track at the minute. He has put in a bit of consistency in terms of his lap times on the right, so it's good to see that he's sticking with it, and it would be great to just keep an eye on him in terms of how he's progressing. But just a case for him really, just like I said, trying to race himself I think is always an important thing, and it's just appreciative that someone is brave enough just to come in and have a go.
And as someone who often finds himself at the back of the pack, he's in quite a nice spot. Well, let's not talk about me. But yeah, Granger's quite a nice spot where he can really just sit and relax and focus on hitting those corners nice, work out his best strategy, and play around really, find his feet and get himself a bit warmed up.
So ArbieG said, a rapid said, ArbieG Sky Sports won't be ringing soon. I fucking hope not.
Is a BT Sports fan himself.
No ambition at all to be a sports commentator.
Don't see yourself as a caster?
No, I mean I do enjoy doing this, and be honest, I do this more for myself. I don't know anybody else. They're trying to learn, like it's interesting watching what certainly people who are faster than me and how they race and some of the strategies they implement. So yeah, definitely won't be working in Sky Sports unless they've got any jobs in analytics or something. Then I might work for Sky Sports because I can do.
You're a man for numbers, not for words.
Oh, we get a bit of kick out there from Simo, who's actually had Legion pass him, and Legion now finds himself up in 4th place. So he has certainly recovered a lot from the first lap off, and we've still got 50 minutes of this race left. So let's not count out Legion quite yet. He's got quite a gap to pull up now between himself and Jonesy, about 4.5 seconds, just over 4.5 seconds. So I'm sure he believes himself and believes he's got the pace in that, but it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. But let's check the tyre wear between the two. Legion running on the softs. It looks like Jonesy's slightly more worn on the tyres and has used slightly more fuel as well, so that's interesting. Probably not enough that it's going to have an impact, but it's just worth making note of. You've got Tiengo. We've really built up that gap between himself and Jonesy. Actually puts in the best section there of the race so far, so again pretty fast on the first section of the lap, and finds himself with a 3-second penalty. And I think maybe what might have caused something, I don't know if it did cause some issue, but I am noticing a bit of a lag when it comes to a Tiengo. I don't know if that's a regional thing. I know obviously you'll be connecting up with a lot of people in Europe and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm not sure how that will go down, but yeah, it'll I don't know whether it would be based in the UK with the host is in the UK or whether it would spread out Europe. I have no idea how the lag and stuff works. But it looks like he's getting a little bit of lag, so maybe that might account for the contact earlier. Although it did, like I said, look a little bit aggressive coming up on the inside and showing like his nose in without really being in line. But yeah, we're definitely getting a bit of lag out of a Tiengo, so we're going to go across to somebody else. But he certainly finds himself there, but does make himself a bit of a risk on track, because when you've got people sliding quite erratically around, it's quite hard to judge how to overtake.
Yeah, especially when you're hitting the fine margins on those inside corners, and you're really talking about millimetres between cars.
Would you commentate for us if AOT was on Sky Sports? I probably wouldn't. No, I've morally disagree with anything to do with other fake news media. Looks like Uber has just gone on the overtake there and got past Simo, made a nice overtake there on the inside, and has made that stick going into the 8th lap of this race. So we've still got 50 minutes of this race, and Uber's, like I said, running an absolute blinder of the race, find himself now up in 4th place. And really sort of trying to take charge of that pack he sees himself involved in. Legion, now, can I just ask a question? What happened to Jonesy? Did he go in and pit? Change tyres?
Yes, by the looks of things.
It looks like he's come in pit.
Fresh tyres.
Oh God, I thought we might have missed an off or something there, but no. Looks like he's just come into pit, and he finds himself now on the super soft tyres, just over half a tank of fuel, so I don't think he did any refueling, just sort of went and changed his tyres, but now he's finding himself in a little bit of traffic, caught up behind Beaver Boy, so he's going to have to try and make a move, which it looks like he might be trying to do this shortly. Certainly is quite hard. There's only a few opportunities there as Beaver Boy runs himself wise, and it gives Joe the opportunity to jump up, and has made that stick quite nicely, and now he pushes up to Simo, looking to get through this pack quite quickly. As Simo runs off as well, Jonesy with some sort of mental capability to force people off track. I don't know what he's saying in party chat, but he obviously must be working.
It's the pressure. It's also
it's knowing that you've got someone faster coming up behind you as well, and I think a lot of people give a little bit of respect to, there's no point trying to race someone for the rest of the race that there's going to pass you eventually. These people know that Jonesy has the pace on him, and Uber in front of him here. I'd like to think he wouldn't defend against Jonesy as strong as what he would defend maybe against someone who's around his own pace, who let him past and come through, as you can see there. So I think I don't know if that's Jonesy, mate, or as Uber actually comes in, almost makes contact there, comes in a little bit deep. I don't know who made a dive for him.
To get out of the way though. Maybe just trying to get that last second slipstream as he comes out of the corner.
Okie dokie. So we're going to skip forward. Let's have a look at Kev. I know it seems mad to not keep so much eye on the race leader, but with Kev being
just building
so he's about 8 seconds in front of Tiengo in 2nd place, running on soft tyres, that are in fairness pretty worn down now. Lap times wise, actually running him down a little bit. You can see now he's clocking in the 129s, a few seconds off his normal pace, but he's sitting up there quite comfortably, and there's no reason for him to change anything if he's still managing to build gaps. So it looks like he's going to go out again for another lap.
It's constantly building those time splits.
Looks like Tiengo's just gone in himself. So let's keep an eye on Legion, and let's see how this works out between Legion and Tiengo, who's gone past the pits, chosen to stay out for an extra lap. Jonesy now actually has gone up as well. So this top 4 is not far off what I was expecting, and I thought Tiengo might be able to challenge as well, who he is. So he finds himself now behind Jonesy after, both of these have gone into pits, but Tiengo has taken on fuel, whereas Jonesy hasn't taken on fuel. Jonesy with half a tank.
And we've got Blasphemy, Uber, and I think it was Beaver Boy all going into the pits at the same time.
Spot, thank you. And we've got actually a lot of action going on here, so let's just keep an eye. Tom actually jumps in front of Beaver Boy there. I think there was just people coming out pit lane and people just trying to find their position. All looks quite nice and neat though out there on track. But we have got a few cars quite close to each other now, haven't we?
We do, yeah. We've got a nice little congestion right in the middle. Fraser also hitting in the pits, getting onto those softs by the looks of things. Cool. Drops him back to 11th. He did a bit of good work getting himself back up to about 8th, I think it was. So he's seeing himself quite a nice position.
No, that's fantastic. So
quite a yo-yo at the back there.
Oh,
Or it seems to be every time I look, someone different.
Uber trying to make attacks here on Simo, wanting to reclaim his position in 5th. And it looks like Kevin's now gone into pit with a nice 17 gap. That's a 17-second gap. I don't know, sometimes when people go into pit, like the gaps go a bit weird. You can see Legion coming through now, whilst Kevin's, just coming out the pit. So, although Legion's yet to pit, so that's something we've got to bear in mind. Legion with half a tank of fuel, pretty worn soft tyres, and Kev coming out now with a 6-second gap. I think it's quite hard to see anyone else be able to take this race away from Kevin.
That's it.
And it looks like Jonesy's actually made a pass on Legion. Legion with his really worn tyres now. Found himself vulnerable. Look at the times he's running now, 130s on the right hand side compared to Jonesy, as you can see on the right hand side, running 127, 128, almost a second and a half up per lap. So he's able to pull that up now, and Legion now finds himself a pit stop behind. But if you look at it, if he can make him last and he can keep up that pace somehow and not make the gap too much, he's still got a slightly bit more fuel than Jonesy. So it'd be interesting to see if he can make them stretch and maybe come into pit the same times of what Jonesy would. But Jonesy with his a 7-second gap now on Kev, runs a little wide there, catches a little bit of the grass, but manages to keep it together. It'd be interesting now to see if Jonesy now can grind down any time on them. Tiengo find himself in 4th position. He's going to find himself up in 3rd once Legion inevitably have to pit, and then eventually Jonesy will have to pit before Tiengo as well. Like I said, the whole fuel issue will sort of make 2nd place still quite open between Tiengo and Jonesy, and Legion, who's going to still have to do a little bit of work to grind back that gap, as it looks like now. Was this?
Yeah, Legion's into pit.
Legion's into pit, and it has Jonesy just gone into pit, take on a bit of fuel. No, he hasn't. No, it was someone else in front of him. So no, fantastic. So yeah, we're quite an interesting race certainly we've got for 2nd place, and like I said, how things are looking at the moment, Jonesy's going to have to come in within sort of the next 3 or 4 laps. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But let's look at it. Have you seen anything happening a bit further back, Al?
I've been trying to have a look. Hard to tell because whether some of the dots are just on top of each other or might spread out. But a little bit of a battle going on towards the back. I think we're looking at maybe sort of 10th or 11th coming down that back straight.
Simo's had a bit of damage here. Last time we were with Simo, he was in 5th place, and he looks like he's he's dropped back both behind Uber and Elite, who've managed to get past him. So I don't know if we've had to slip out there or both Uber and Elite have managed to make a pass. But we find this is the situation now. Still a bit of a gap between him and Digital Blasphemy behind, who finds himself about 4 seconds behind, but he's still got Tom following up behind him. About 7 tenths behind, so still quite vulnerable there to Tom. Beaver Boy running wide, but still keeping up with Tom and still making quite a battle. And this is kind of a little pack we've got here. Then Fraser sitting a little bit behind the rest of the pack in his own little gap again. Probably just racing a race where he's just trying to beat himself at the moment. But with a nice a comfortable gap either side of him. And then we've got OK a Granger, who's again just sitting a bit behind, 35 seconds behind, and again just sitting.
Again, that consistency.
Well, he's putting his best lap on lap 9. He put in a 134.5, which obviously a little bit off the race pace here, but as long as he's trying to improve his own time, and it looks like he has managed to do that, so a fair play to him. Let's push up now as Kevin has managed to extend that gap now to 10 seconds, so it really is looking like Kevin's race. Jonesy still with Tiengo with only 3.5 seconds behind him, and like I said, Tiengo looks like he might have had enough there actually. Can we try and catch that on replay? Let's see if I did this correctly. So Tiengo found himself in 3rd place, a little bit behind, and it looks like maybe he lost it out of here, ran wide, and had himself run off. Got that how I managed to use the replay system correctly.
I mean, that was beautiful.
Are you proud? I'm proud of myself too.
I am. I'm proper proud as punch. So let's give Legion a bit of time to really claw in that gap behind him. And
I'm a bit concerned about chat. Someone mentioned something about Jewish Jedis, and someone afterwards has a message they've retracted. So I'm not getting involved in that. I'm staying well clear of that.
I saw the message before it was deleted. I don't think it was too terrible.
As we've had a spin out there from Elite, so again, let's see if we can capture that on replay as he joins up, and Blasphemy looking like he's going to try and make something stick there. But let's just have a look back there and see what happened with Elite. Look at me with my replay system, eh? That I finally worked out.
You're getting your practice in. There's no one else with you to replay.
It looks like he just ran himself a little wide there and span himself off.
Is that the same corner as Tiengo?
I don't think it was actually, but then again, very well, maybe. Definitely not getting that job at Sky Sports. So yeah. Digital Blasphemy now sitting behind Elite, and Elite up in 7th place after his spin. So he hasn't spanned. There's word spins where you can end up at the back, as we saw with a Legion earlier in the race. Looks like Tiengo still getting attacked now by Legion. Legion really pushing up from that last one. He's going up on the outside of Tiengo, and he's going to try and get the cut back on him when it looks like he's going to make this start. As he's going down on the outside, is he going to try and cut in again on the inside?
Tiengo with a bit of defensive drive in there, just making sure Legion doesn't have that.
The thing is, if Tiengo goes on the defence here, like, you've got a long race in front of you, and I don't know if it's just me, anyone in the chat tell me I'm wrong, but I don't see any point being really defensive. OK Granger just moves off the racing line to let these guys go past. Very good racemanship from him there. This is one thing I was saying before. Look how much Tiengo's moving around the track due to the lag. It makes it really scary as someone trying to pass when you've got someone scooting all over the place, which is the first thing to be said. And
but he's got on
so we'll just we'll see if they come through side by side. He's gone on the outside, and Tiengo again almost catching him on the inside there, but it looks like Legion has made that stick. But Legion done well there. It's quite a nerve-wracking thing to try and overtake someone who's scooting over the place like that due to lag. You never know when they're going to come and slam into the side of you.
But Jonesy's built up quite a gap at 2nd place, so it's going to be difficult for Legion to even close that gap down.
And Legion didn't look like he took on much fuel in that last one. He still went on with some softs. He still got slightly more fuel than Jonesy, but looks like they're going to have to pit Legion within a lap or two to our share of Jonesy. So not really an advantage that Legion's got there in terms of pit strat, but we'll see how, again, a long race in front of us, man. We've got 37 minutes of race in front of us, and we've seen these sort of gaps whistle down very quickly in just a amount of time. As actually, I think Legion, when we were watching them here, put in a purple a sector, so it'll be interesting if he's on that, trying to push for the fastest lap time, which he knows he can get into the 1:26 range, which is certainly well ahead the pace in terms of what everyone else is doing at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if Legion, which again, it looked like you've even cracked that time down a little bit, and Jonesy's gone into pit as well, so certainly something to mix up a little bit. And Legion puts in the best lap there with a 1:27.1, so Legion really pushing now and seeing if he can. I think him, with hopes of getting up to Kev, is pretty much out there, unless Kev does something really stupid and finds himself slipping off and having a bad off. But I think,
well, even if he slips off, that's 23 seconds or 23 and a half seconds now.
He could slip off, have a quick sip of cloudy lemonade. I don't know what he drinks, but I'm going to assume it's something of that nature. Yeah, come a hot Bovril, get back in his car and still have enough of a gap to get through. Yeah,
so I reckon that Kevin's locked in for first, and I don't think we'll see much changing there, but it's that 2nd, 3rd and 4th, especially with the pitting strategy, that's going to be very interesting, with Jonesy slipping back down to 5th. So hopefully this pit,
unless there's a different strategy in terms of pits, looks like Uber's really opened up a gap himself in 4th place. Jonesy, again, just behind us in pit, so we expect him to maybe get past Uber at some point. But Uber's race, I think he knows Uber's race isn't with Jonesy. Uber knows his race is with Simo. And Simo finds himself, a good 3.5 seconds behind Jonesy. So, Uber now with a good 7-second gap. What we're looking like in terms of pit, and Simo's going to have to go into pit soon as well, about the same in terms of fuel and tyre wear as Jonesy. So, as Uber. Uber and Simo, looks like Uber's definitely got the advantage on him on this race, and looking pretty secure for a 5th place a finish by the end of this race. I'm still interested about how it's going to work out between Tiengo and Jonesy, in terms of who's going to finish in front in terms of that race, as we come in now with roughly 35 minutes remaining. Tiengo has used nearly all of his on nearly all of his overtake juice. Jonesy's only used about a third of his, so he's got that as well in his tank that he can use to possibly make the move on Tiengo and get past him without getting wiped out by perhaps the lag that he seems to be experiencing.
It looks like Simo has slipped back to 8th, overtaken by Blasphemy and Beaver Boy.
Yeah, so another impossible mistake there by Simo, who's gone a bit back. Did that recently just happen?
Yes, just on the last corner, as they were coming down that final straight.
To capture that. Unfortunately, I don't think we have. I think we just got the aftermath of it there. Caught that a bit late, so not able to watch that back. But unfortunately for Simo, finds himself, maybe through a little slip out and stuff, finds himself back in 8th place. He's got a little bit of work. I think he knows it in his heart. He's probably got the edge on Beaver Boy and Digital Blasphemy to be able to get in front of him. So it'll be interesting to see if he manages to develop that beyond what he has at the moment. Elite again finds himself slipped back. Are we sure there hasn't been pits or something? No, definitely not for a Simo, but Elite certainly has gone into pit. He looks like he's got a bit of fresh tyres on as he finds himself out in 9th place, but with a fresh set we expect him to climb up a few places as pits come through. Tom finds himself in 10th position. Nice gap between him and Fraser behind him, so he doesn't really have to worry about anything behind. He's just going to try and push as hard as he can now to try and make up and try and pull himself up into 9th place, because certainly a 2-second gap between himself and Elite isn't that insurmountable, as Simo, Uber and Blasphemy all come in now for pit.
And Tiengo's just come out the pits, so he's just popped himself in.
More interesting.
Giving himself some fresh tyres, all stacked up just above half fuel. So now he can push himself up for Jonesy and Legion.
So it's quite interesting here because Jonesy and Tiengo now have quite similar in terms of fuel. Jonesy with slightly less fuel, so he's going to have to come in sooner. But you're only talking like 1 lap difference, 1 or maybe 1.5 laps different. Jonesy on the slower tyre with a little bit more wear, but again that looks like it might balance itself out over time. So it looks like Jonesy might be in the advantage here for this race to be able to take. Third or even 2nd place again, and depending on what's going on with Legion, who's looking like he's going to have to pit very soon. Fraser concedes a place for him, and Legion looks like he's probably going to have to come in on this lap and fuel and refuel. But you look at that gap he's given himself. 12-second gap between himself and Jonesy. He might be able to get in and out. I mean, actually, to say that the amount of refueling he's got to do certainly won't get in and out in front of Jonesy. But let's get on board with Jonesy now and see what happens as he comes back and see what kind of differences there are in time and where it puts Legion in relation to Tiengo as well. As Tiengo now comes down the straight with Legion, I believe, still in the pits refueling, and it's just coming out now. So he comes out now.
Full tank of gas. With
Uber just coming up behind. And he finds himself about 4 seconds behind. He actually run wide in that first corner. Uber just able to jump in front of him. Again, I don't think it's going to be a position he realistically holds. I think Legion's going to have to pace on him. But unfortunately ran wide on that first corner and lost himself a little bit of time. Uber on the super softs. Legion again running on the softs. Seem to be favouring the soft tyres in this race. Sorry?
Beaver Boy towards the back has just dropped back. He's in the pits.
Does it?
I think he's about 9th or 10th now. Yeah, he's sitting in 10th, Beaver Boy.
He's just
but he's fresh out of the pits.
Fresh out of the pits, fresh set of tyres, just under 3/4 fuel. So again, we should hopefully see him push up to about 8th or 9th by the time things seem to settle down when it comes to the pits and stuff. So,
and Kevin's sitting in the pits now as well.
Mid-race predictions, Al. Where are you at with mid-race predictions? Are we going to have an incident here? Yeah, Quick Ranger needed to get across there, but again, I might not have noticed Kevin was coming out on the pits. And he has the forward in the room to get past there, so fantastic for Gridger. But mid-race predictions, where you're at with your top 5?
I mean, I'll still stick with Kevin as one as I started off the race. I don't see anyone catching him there. The interesting thing, 2, 3 and 4, or even 2, 3, 4 and 5 between Jonesy, Tiengo, Uber and Legion, I don't see anyone taking those positions from them. So it's going to be the rest of them sitting in that.
Put your money in your mouth. Who do you think is going to end this race in 2nd place?
That's a tough one. Jonesy's done well. He's opened up a bit of a gap, but it's going to be that pitting strategy between the rest of them. So I might see Jonesy as holding it, because every time he's dropped back, he's always consistently got himself back in that 2nd position. I'm still sticking with Uber at 3rd.
Uber at 3rd?
For some reason.
You did call it at the start of the race, actually. You did say Uber 3rd at the start of the race, so It'd be great if he gets it. Personally, I think you're not wrong with Jonesy in second. Maybe I'm going with Legion third, Tiengo fourth, and Uber fifth. I think this is how it's going to pan out. But
I'd see Tiengo going as fifth. I think he's pushing very aggressively, so it's either work out in his favour, which holds him third. Something's going to happen with him. He's going to slip off the pace, maybe push it too hard, wear the tyres a bit too thin, and slip back.
So Beaver Boy making a pass there on Elite, slipping up on his inside and just making it stick. And looks like Elite's finding himself in a bit of trouble here as Simo comes past him as well. So is Elite just at a disadvantage in terms of his tyres? Or yeah, he's a little bit worn tyres, quarter tank of health, but he just found himself slipping off there and losing a couple of positions. Really unfortunate for Elite there. But let's see if he picks himself up. And
he's still in striking range. There's still quite a little tight gap between those last few.
And a lot of movement happening between all of these cars in sort of the mid to late pack, really, isn't it? A lot of movement up and down. So again, Tom finds himself up, for example, up in 7th place, who earlier in the race was finding himself quite a way behind, just over 1/3 of fuel tank left, and relatively warm tyres as well. So we might expect him coming in at some point. And there's a bit of a gap now. You see up between them and a Blasphemy in sixth place, about a 12-second gap between those two groups. And Digital Blasting kind of a middle of two packs really between themselves and sort of the top 5 leaders. So Digital Blasphemy, although looking like he's going to have to refuel there, so he's going to probably be coming off. So I'd say these guys in the top 5 are really in their own pack, aren't they? But Uber's done amazing. You think of where he was. He's got just over a quarter tank of fuel as Fraser lets him past, and he's still sitting in front of Legion after Legion's poor exit from the pit going into turn 1. So Legion's going to have to make a push back on Uber and try and get past him and see if he can try and push back into that top 3, because he was looking like he was really clawing back from the first lap off, which unfortunately, like I said, I didn't manage to nab the recording for it, and I wish I did, because it'd be interesting to see what happened there, because we didn't quite catch what happened with Legion on. I think it was even the first corner, just coming on the exit for the first corner.
It was, yeah.
We managed to lose Legion and he had an off. So Rabid is going for Jonesy second, Uber for 4th. So he's calling Uber. Al's put his money where his mouth is, calling Uber for 3rd. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it'll be really good to see it if it does. Tiengo now sitting himself with a nice sort of comfortable gap, just under half a tank of fuel on him. 4-second gap between himself and Uber behind, and only 2.5 seconds between himself and Jonesy. So he has ground down that gap a little bit since we were last here. Jonesy running, like I said, slightly slower tyres, slightly more worn, and actually Tiengo's done a really good job on conserving his fuel as well. He finds himself now with a bit of an advantage on Jonesy. So it looks like Tiengo, as much as we were calling Jonesy for 2nd place, Tiengo really looks a threat to that. And certainly could be doing some damage.
And Kevin's answering our questions from just before the race starting by setting a new fastest lap, so he's still pushing himself very hard at the top.
I mean, Kevin, 27 seconds in front, there's not really much else to say. The past two, the first race I commentated over, which was round 4, those two, Legion and Kev, neck and neck. What an exciting race it was, and to watch a Legion just sit behind Kev for the entire race and then make his move at the end was really entertaining and really interesting to watch. I think these last couple of races, Kev's just had that extra edge. I think Legion's made the transition from control pad to wheel, and he's taken a little bit of time to try and to adjust for that. So I think that's what was perhaps giving him, perhaps is not at his best quite yet on the wheel, and I think he'll eventually. Once he gets used to it and acclimatises to it and adjusts the racing lines he takes in order to accommodate a wheel, then I think we'll see him start to push up again, certainly going into whatever series we'll be covering next, which I think will be the Group 4 sprints, but we'll find out.
No, if this is his transition race, then he'll be dangerous once he gets used to it.
So we've got some action here. Tom just sitting not far behind Elite. Tom, who's found himself a bit, going up and down a little bit throughout this race. He's actually, remember last time we were with Tom, he was about 8th or so, and he looks like he's gone on for a pit since, and now he's just sitting behind Elite. Actually, making a bit of ground and looking like he's going to be trying to make an attack pretty soon as he pushes up pretty close to him. And he's going to try and find an opportunity, but it's going to be hard. This is a hard part of the course to try and make an overtake on. And it looks like he's just going to maybe push on him here, because certainly Elite didn't get the best exit going out of there, and it looks like he's got a bit of pace. He's looking at the inside, but it's going to be a bit of a dive bomb for him to take that there, and he did actually make a bit of contact with Elite. I'd say maybe should have pulled out of that one, but he's got that overtake and he's made that stick, and Elite is now finds himself down in 10th position with a second gap behind him. So we'll go up a bit further now. Let's look at Beaver Boy. I don't feel like we've looked at Beaver Boy much this race. Beaver.
He's got Blasphemy ahead of him in pits.
Yeah. So Blasphemy's going for pits, and now he's coming in. It'd be interesting to see where Blasphemy comes out. As you said, he seemed to have quite a gap on him, but probably not enough gap, because he, refueling takes a lot of time. So it's certainly a lot slower pit, as he actually seems to be coming out now. So Beaver Boy's got himself lovely in the 6th place. Don't really see where this come from. He's got half a tank of fuel, relatively worn tyres, with Simo just behind him. Simo, though, almost out of fuel and really worn tyres, so he's going to be coming in very soon. So Beaver Boy looking really good for 6th place, has to be said. When we thought maybe we were looking at other people as sort of key contenders for 6th, but no, Beaver Boy's really sort of stuck his neck out, and like I said, we haven't really been keeping much progress on him, but he's certainly run a very, very good race and finds himself up now in 6th place, so well done, Beaver Boy.
Well, when we talk about positionings, Blasphemy was sitting quite comfortable at 6th.
Yeah, no, he was, but he had a pit to do, didn't he? So it looks like Jonesy's just gone into pit. So let's see what happens with the field here. Jonesy coming up, which manages to give Uber a chance to push up to 3rd, obviously with a pit to do very soon. He's almost out of fuel, running on his super softs that are really, really worn at the minute.
Legion joining him in the
Legion
pit.
also going into pit. Legion with already quite a lot of fuel, so he might just be switching up the tyres, but it looks like he has. He's gone for another set of soft tyres.
Didn't lose any positions.
No, didn't lose any positions. No, probably because he's aware of what's going, what the gaps were around him. Tiengo, a little bit of slip there from Tiengo. Really starting to feel the wear on those front 2 tyres now. Uber, running it pretty thin with the fuel. Going to have to just make sure he can see himself around this lap, which he should be able to with what he's got. Running as we said, the lovely Jaffa Cake livery, which I adore. I do like that a lot. I think he should just win the race just on that alone.
Rabbit asks, are you racing in the GR4?
I am not. I'll be commentating over the Group 4 sprints. So the Group 4 sprints are going to be the next series that run on a Tuesday, and I've been asked to commentate over them. So I think I'll try it as a series. It'd be nice to do shorter races. I think the sprints are 20-minute races, so it'd be relatively quite nice to commentate over. These hour ones can be a bit of a stint, but still fun to do. So it looks like everyone's quite relatively spread out. We've got sort of a little bit of action between Simo and Beaver Boy still. Simo looking like he's going to have to come in and refuel on this lap. He's really again pushing it down to the line with his fuel, as Uber and Tiengo both come in. Uber actually, I don't know if he managed to slip in front of Tiengo in the pits, but now Uber's going to have to take on quite a lot of fuel. Tiengo's probably going to get out sooner because he already had quite a lot of fuel already, and it looks like Tiengo's going to get out now. Legion actually in front of Tiengo, so let's have a look at the fuel differences between Uber and Tiengo, because that'll be interesting to see. Legion with just over fuel, half a tank of fuel, somewhere between half and 2/3, and it looks like Tiengo has slightly more fuel on him. So just over 3/4 fuel, and we've seen him in this race before be really fuel efficient as well. So certainly again himself having quite the advantage on some of these front runners here. Uber again running a blinder of a race for himself. Find himself pretty much up with Tiengo. Little bit of a difference in the fuel. We'll probably see him slip back in this. He's under half a tank, so he's certainly got less than Tiengo, and we're going to see him come in and fuel before Tiengo, but he's on his super soft tyres. And
he's sitting. A lot of what I've noticed is Tiengo doesn't have much ERS or the overtake juice left, whereas a lot of them around him seem to have half or a bit more.
Yeah, really are conserving it for the end of the race. As we come in now to the final third of the race with 20 minutes left. to go. Jonesy, we're looking at here, third position with Tiengo only a second and a half behind them. Looks like they're both kind of quite similar. It looks like Jonesy's got the edge in terms of fuel though, so that's going to be maybe a bit of a flip reverse unless Tiengo can really push on Jonesy, which, you know, when we were watching early in this race, Tiengo really did have the pace and was pulling away from Jonesy, and that was when Tiengo was running on the super softs, but he finds himself on the soft now, so be relatively big task for him to ask him to get up to Jonesy and push past. But let's have a wait and see, really, and see how that develops.
Because down that back straight, I can see Jonesy. I imagine when the overtake goes red, he's actually using it. He was using a bit of the overtake, the ERS, to just keep that away from slipstream distance, so Tiengo can't use it to catch up with.
I think slipstream just you start feeling the benefit within like 8.47 of a second. If you can keep the gap sort of more than a second, you're kind of out of slipstream range. From how I understand it.
Seems to be what Jonesy was doing down that back straight. So very smart use of it, just keeping aware of where Tiengo's sitting, just making sure he doesn't get any extra gas. Use every bit of that fuel.
So quite a maintained 1 second gap between Jonesy and Tiengo, and like I said, Legion's still not out of this by any means. Like I said, running slightly behind, quite a bit behind Jonesy in terms of fuel, but a little bit behind Tiengo with fuel as well. And like I said, with what I've seen with Tiengo and how he's managed to fuel save in this race, I think it'll be interesting. Although we're in a situation here where Tiengo is within 1 second of Jonesy, so he's going to be pushing a bit harder than normal, so maybe might not get the same fuel efficiency as what he was earlier in the race, where he wasn't trying to push up against somebody.
And there's Jonesy again on the ERS, as Tiengo was quite gradually closing the gap down. And looking at the back of the grid, Blasphemy has overtaken back onto 6th.
Oh great, so Blasphemy gets really pushed up back. And has an incident happened or something there, because a 10-second gap up on that is quite a sizable gap.
As before he come in, I didn't see him.
Yeah, maybe he did come into pit and give Digital Blasphemy room to move.
He seems to have a bit of pressure bias.
Yeah, it looks like he's come in and pitted, but he's still, like I said, blind and race from Beaver Boy, finding himself up in 7th place with Simo not far behind him. Although finding himself with slightly less fuel and slightly more tyre wear. I think if he does get past him, he'll soon find himself behind him again when we come around to pits. But again, interesting to see how it's going to pan out coming into the last, now we're firmly in the last third of this race.
I think it seems to be, you've got a couple of little fights going on. Second to 5th is still going to be very interesting, and then I think 6th, 7th and 8th, that'll be the battle there, because everyone else seems quite a gap away and fighting their own fight. Yeah,
definitely some interesting fights going on here. I'm just trying to catch this one that's in front of these two. 8th and 9th, so a little bit of a scrap going on between Elite and Simo and a Beaver Boy between 8th and 7th as well. Not a big gap between those two. It's worth keeping an eye on as well. And who are those two in the back straight? So Jonesy, Tiengo's trying to look up on Jonesy's inside. Again, not got the speed to be able to make that pass there, so he's going to sit in behind again. Still within half a second gap, so he feels like he's got the pace on Jonesy, and certainly looking at the situations as they are now, I think Tiengo needs to make this pass in order to try and get in front of Jonesy for the end of this race, with quite similar levels of fuel and quite similar in terms of tyre wear. I think it's that's what Tiengo's going to have to do. I don't think different pit strat's going to change the situation as it is right now, as close as it is.
No, they seem very even on the pit strategies.
He's pushing very hard, which I wonder what's doing to his fuel as well. Is he now sat up behind Jonesy? Jonesy trying to just take his normal line, going up on the outside. As Tiengo again, he looked like he was thinking about, shall I tip myself on the inside? But he's still holding out. He's going to wait for another opportunity, and let's see if he manages to forge it within the next couple of turns. We'll go on board with him and look on board with this cam and see if he can just get that opportunity up on Jonesy, which it looks like he's tried to push a couple of times within half a second, so he feels like he probably has the pace on him. Gets
probably waiting for this back straight here
on the straight, but with this kind of gap he's going to get a bit of slipstream. But this straight is a long straight in comparison to this course, but not long enough to really gain advantage. You have to be really up on somebody to make it count here as you come in through the exit, and he just doesn't have it. So Jonesy again looking like he's keeping this a position secure. See, when I was talking about a defensive race and when is the point in doing it, when is not the point about it, now I kind of see it a bit more like you are coming towards like, you know, the last quarter of the race and you want to secure your position. But you notice the more that these two fight, the more chance it gives Uber to pull up on them.
Yeah.
So the more these two scrap over third place, the more Uber has a chance of be able to pip who eventually slips into fourth, you know. So you know, you can see Uber there grind down now to 1.4. You know, only got a few attempts to grind off, and he's involved in that fight there as well. But the thing with Uber, you know, looking at fuel levels slightly lower again, finds himself at a disadvantage by the fact he's going to have to come in.
Yeah, Tiengo on that corner has actually pipped Jonesy.
Try to make it stick, but it's still relatively close. Jonesy sticking on the outside, but it looks like Tiengo's going to make it stick, and I don't think Jonesy's going to give it up too easily. And you can see Uber now well involved in this fight as well, and seeing if he can just do anything just to make these two think, really. I don't think for him he's going to play a bit of a psychological game just by the fact, you know, he's coming into pit within the next 2 laps or so. Whereas,
well, if Uber could sit there on the back straight, then he's possibly got a chance to overtake both of them with that superior slipstream.
Definitely a chance of it. I mean, he's using a bit of his overtake juice there to give himself a bit of a kick, make sure he's keeping up with it. But it's still interesting to watch this battle here. Jonesy slipped up on the inside of Tiengo. Tiengo there with another bit of contact. Needs to keep himself a little bit more aware on track. There's a couple times now we've seen a bit of contact between Jonesy and Tiengo, and just maybe being a bit more aware, as Jonesy definitely was in the right line there.
It was a bit smart there by Jonesy. He kind of almost feigned to go on the outside and then suddenly swerved into the inside to open up that gap again between him and Tiengo. And
taking the favoured line, he got to the apex first, so just a little bit more awareness from Tiengo there, but it easily happens. I'm not going to sit here promise. I'm a saint. Sometimes these things happen, especially over a long race. We've got Uber now sitting up behind Tiengo. Tiengo now under a bit of attack, and Tiengo's again in this really weird position that you find yourself in when you're sandwiched in the middle of two. Is you've got to make an attack on the guy in front of you, because any a mistake Jonesy makes is going to have an impact on Tiengo, and therefore give Uber a chance to make an attack. And what Tiengo doesn't know is, like, you know, it's all good me sitting here going, oh, he hasn't got much fuel left with that, but Tiengo doesn't know that. So yeah, he's going to have to either try and keep his line, just try and race with good time to know that he can pull away from Uber, or he's going to have to try and make an attack on Jonesy, which, as we know, anytime you make an attack, you're coming off the ideal racing line, which is slowing you down. So Tiengo now coming into the straight, looks like he's going to try and make an attack again. Let's see what he does here as he slips up on the inside. Is he going to try and take that inside line again? Yeah, didn't really have it. Looked like he wanted to peer his nose up, but fortunately he did pull back from that one. And he looks like this is what I was talking about, making an attack and not making it stick. Uber now going up on the inside, and again Tiengo closing that door, not affording a lot of room to people there. Be good to see him affording a little bit more room to Uber, who was making a neat pass there. But again, I'll leave that to the race stewards and stuff to talk about that. And I think, like, as well, it's me again, easy me saying this, but we have seen Tiengo experience a lot of a lag as well, so I wonder if that's playing a factor in sort of maybe slightly misjudging where cars are on the track. But it's been an interesting race. Shall we slip back a little bit, because I'm conscious we've been with these guys quite a few times?
Yeah, it's been very, very solid at the back so far. But a couple of people coming into pits.
Got a few fits. Digital Blasphemy again running a great race, pretty worn tyres and not much fuel left here, with Beaver Boy run up behind him with sort of more better tyres and a little bit more fuel as well. So Beaver Boy again put himself in a great place in this race. He's still going to have to get into the pits at one more point during this race, I think, with 11 minutes left, a minute and a half a lap. We're still looking about 8 or 9 laps until this is over.
He's opened a bit of a gap between himself and Snimo, which I think allows Beaver Boy to be a bit more adventurous with his prepping, so he can afford to pit once and still stick quite nicely in second place.
Absolutely. We're just going to pump up the first now. I know it's been ages, but Kevin now finds himself almost a minute in front of Uber, who's actually pushing himself up into second place. So it looks like Legion and Jonesy have both respectively gone into pits.
They just did.
Great, and it looks like Legion, Uber losing a little bit of grip there. He's on his last lap there. Legion taking advantage of the superior tyres. Oh, actually, I thought, yes, he does have superior tyres, ignore me. Legion taking advantage of the superior tyre wear there, as Uber makes a slip on the exit of that turn. and now finds himself probably trying to set a really good time here. He probably didn't want that slip himself because he knows that Jonesy and Tiengo have gone into pit as well, and he wants to make this this lap count. Jonesy
is already clawing back that time. It was about 8 seconds as he was coming out of the pits, and as you can see now it's 6.
You notice Tiengo now with a 4-second gap behind. I mean, it's just jumped because again a bit of lag happening from this part, but again looks like Jonesy's secured his position a little bit more with quite similar tyre wear and tyres now and fuel, and Jonesy with a 3-second gap up on Tiengo. I think he's going to be able to see this one through and secure what's looking like going to be a second place finish for Jonesy. But again, we've got Legion and we've got Uber stuck in this, but they both look like they're going to have to pit at least. I don't know if Legion's got enough to see it through. Maybe probably not. In terms of fuel, I think he'll know best when he can see his onboard.
Uber sitting in the pits now.
Heads up display, but Jonesy with again just under half a tank of fuel begs the question: is he going to have to pit again before the end of this race? It will be interesting to see, or is that going to be enough to see him through to the end?
He's running a really nice outlap after pitting, and we'll see if he can close down that gap with Legion.
Was his outlap the 126.7? Or was that? I assume it was the 141.4. I'm not sure, but yeah, a 126.7 is a very good time as well.
Yeah, almost at Kevin's rate of 126.065.
Yeah, definitely, and like I said, it feels a shame after Kevin putting in such a great performance that we don't spend much time with him. But other than watching him drive really fast, there's not really much to say, is there?
Yeah, I mean, look at those timings. Very consistent from Kevin hitting those 27s, 26s. So he's just putting a masterclass on for everyone else.
So shall we go on board with Uber for a bit?
Yeah, let's sit with Uber, see how he does out of his pit.
He's coming out of shit now. Finds himself a 9-second gap behind Tiengo, so going to be quite an ask for him to get that up. Again, just under that half a tank of fuel. I feel like this is perhaps the marker that people worked out to be able to see the race out now, based on the fuel they got. So again, it's quite hard to judge just based on a marker how many laps of a full tank what takes, but it looks like people now are finding their kind of fuel levels, and they think we're now seeing the last of kind of the pit stops that are happening. But we've still got 8 minutes left of this race, and still, although these positions look pretty set, Legion has somehow found himself in second place with a 7-second gap, and I'm not sure he's going to need to pit again. Which I was calling second place for Jonesy in this race, but Legion seems to have pulled a strat out of his arse from nowhere, which I haven't foreseen, and finds himself out. I mean, were you seeing this develop? Because I didn't see this.
I didn't see such a clear gap. I mean, when he was fighting back, I could see Legion sitting in second and pushing it, but I thought he'd be amongst the fighting. I didn't see himself holding a 7-second gap. Yeah, granted that Jones and Tiengo and Uber all have just come into pit relatively recently, but if Legion can make this tank last and make these tyres last, even if he pits briefly, he'll have just about a gap on
maybe.
Jonesy,
I mean, it'd be a tyre change. I mean, the thing is that's holding him back. Not holding him back, but it's the fuel. Like the tyres is easy got to the end of the race. The question is whether that fuel tank's going to see him out. If it is, he's got a good chance of second place. Because all Jonesy's got the faster tyre being on super softs, and slightly more fuel. I don't think he's going to have enough pace to grind down what is effectively an 8-second gap in the space of what looks like about 3 laps now.
No, there hasn't been any significant changes or consistent changes, at least between the gap between Legion and Jonesy. So we'd imagine he would hold his position unless either he slips up or he needs to pit again.
So very interesting. Although I kind of remember a race predictions at the start. I think I said first Kev, second Legion, and third Jonesy. But I'm just.
Well, that's before we knew Legion was going to join.
That's true. That's true. It's true. It looks like your prediction of Uber in third is nothing more than an ambitious dream now, but absolute props to Uber playing a blinding race. Find himself with a well-earned 5th place. It looks like he's got that in the bag now with a 30-second gap between himself and Digital Blasphemy. He's even got a room to put in a couple of pits, and again a nice hot cup of victory above Bovril, and still get back in his car and maintain a neat gap in front of him in Digital Blasphemy.
Yeah, you can imagine. I think Uber would try and push on that gap on Tiengo, but he seems to have built it up a bit more. On his last couple of outlaps from the pit, Uber was closing down that gap, but Tiengo has stabilised it a bit.
You can see Jonesy has ground down a little bit, but not really any kind of significant gap on Legion at the minute. So yeah, like I said, it's looking like Legion has managed to steal second place without us even realising it now. So good job.
I think it was because
good job from the commentary team.
Well, it was when everyone was coming into pit, and we'd imagine that there was an automatic shift with the pitting, but Legion would then drop back as it kind of normally balanced out. But he's worked well and held out that line.
Yeah, no. So a great race from Legion, especially if we consider, remember what happened to him in lap 1, getting hit off. I don't know if it was a hit off or a slip off. I imagine it was a hit off. Yeah, he had a really bad off on the first lap, found himself in last place, and now looks like he's going to be finishing the race in second. Simo here, run a respectful race, kind of found himself a little bit up and down throughout of it. Coming in 8th place, kind of imagine where he kind of expected to be in the field, round about mid-pack. So he's run a very respectful race there. Tom just got into pits now thank you for the notification. Didn't know my phone was on. So yeah, Tom coming into pit now, going to find himself possibly dropping back to his 10th position with his nice big gap he's got on Fraser, which we know is a little bit behind in terms of this race. And Granger as well. Let's just hop on board with Granger, who's again coming himself into pit. He's actually again improved his time. Look at that, a 1:34 flat from Granger there. Certainly again running his better time. So he has shown that he can keep grinding down that time, but unfortunately looks like he's had a few slip outs. But I think a lot of them probably from him conceding places and stuff. So
I think so.
A really good of him to be considerate of the race and making room for the people who are putting in the faster times. So.
And it's always positive to see those. I think there was a 39 and a 37 in there, which were good to see, because that just means when he's got a bit of a gap and doesn't have to shift his way all the way to the edge for those other races, he's actually hitting some good times that will put him normally around mid-pack.
Absolutely. So it looks like that gap between Legion and Jonesy is extended again. Tiengo still sitting in about 3.5 seconds, so these guys kind of really cemented their places, really. And unless there's any major mistakes, or as I said, unless there's been any misjudgments on the fuel, which Legion is running low, and he's gonna have to run this on about 3 more laps to see this out. So it would be really interesting to see how that pans out. I don't know if he's going to go and try and fuel save now with only, he's got an 8.5 second gap, so he can try and do some fuel saving strategies, which basically involves trying to, make sure that he's shifting up early and keeping up in high gear as he possibly can to conserve that fuel. And he's actually coming. He's actually coming to pit. Is he going to take on a little bit of fuel? Let's have a look and see what he does. I think he's he's gone for the tyre change. Interesting. I'm not sure. He's just gone for the tyre change, so he's just swapped to a pair of super softs and finds himself in 3rd place in front of Tiengo, but behind Jonesy. Interesting choice there from Legion.
Yeah, it was. I didn't expect to see that. I thought he could probably eke it out on the fuel, but if he was coming in, it would be to fuel. But he hasn't taken on anything out of the super soft, so he's going for fast time.
Yeah, he's going for the faster tyre. Maybe you get more fuel conservation from the super soft, or maybe take on. I mean, I didn't see him taking any fuel there, so yeah, I'll be interested to ask about that at the end and find out. Well, actually, I suppose we can judge ourselves if he managed to make the pass in the next couple of laps. It has worked, but he had himself a nice gap there, and whether it was a fake out as well. I mean, Jonesy looks like he's going to have the fuel. He's got his tyres really worn, so Legion still looking like he's likely to make the pass at some point in this race. Tiengo's still not completely out of it, only about 2-second gap, but I think he's really trying to push himself now.
Yeah, he's got some worn tyres, and Legion has managed to open up that gap. All I can think from Legion is either he's pushing for that fastest time, getting that extra point, or I don't know how the physics work in this. If you've got less fuel, you've got a lighter tank. You are technically a bit faster, so he's really pushing. Yeah, so he must be really pushing for that fastest lap time.
It looks like this is going to be the time when he tries to make it happen. He's going to sit in Jonesy's slipstream. He's chosen to go to the outside line. Jonesy's taking the defensive line on the inside. So this is the time where you need to be a defensive drive in. Is he going to try and get him on the cutback? Legion gone with the cutback, and it looks like he's taken the position away from Jonesy, using a little bit of his overtake juice, but Jonesy doesn't look like he's giving this up at all. Legion,
be an interesting battle,
running a little bit wide there, and we're just on board now with Jonesy's only 8 tenths behind. Doesn't get away as well there, and it looks like the worn tyres are now having an impact on Jonesy, and Jonesy looking like we're in what's looking like the last lap of the race now, and Legion, you know, with the risky move there, if you ask me, I don't know, again, you'll have to explain that one to me about why he sort of swapped from those softs to the super soft when he sort of had that gap and it was maintained, unless he went to the super softs feeling like he was, again, it was a conversation tactic, or whether he did it to make sure he was less likely to slip out. I'm not sure. It's just a bit of a weird one for me.
Yeah, and down at 6th and 7th, Beaver Boy has pipped into 6th over Blasphemy, who's been held that position for quite a while. So there's a little bit of a battle down there.
So it looks like Legion's going to come through now and confirm his last. I don't know. Is this the finish of the race for him here? We'll soon find out when he goes past that line. Yeah, that's the finish of the race there for Legion. So Legion's confirmed his second. Jonesy comes in third. Tiengo fourth. We've got to wait for Kevin to finish his lap to confirm his first position, but that's already been confirmed. He'd have to. I think even if he stopped now, he's still won because he's like a lap in front.
Legion has confirmed our theory in the chat, saying he wanted the fastest lap and he got it. That was a risky manoeuvre, but it paid off.
He did it for the fastest lap. So, cheers, Legion.
And he got it, so I'll take off my cap to him. That was well thought out.
Mr. Brazen Bollocks coming on just for the fastest lap. Beaver Boy finishes then in. Oh, actually, he started up with finish, but he's not quite finished yet. I don't know why it does that. It's a bit weird. But Beaver Boy now coming around, who again blind of a race from Beaver Boy as well. Like kept quite hidden there, and we didn't really notice him up until the point he was sitting in 6th place quite comfortably. So he gets that, and Digital Blasphemy gets himself a 7th place. So I think super shouts out to both Uber and Beaver Boy, who ran, you know, really good races from what I could see. Again, we're kind of talking about Uber beforehand, thinking that he might be able to do something in this race. I don't know why we were both feeling it, but we were. So, congrats to you, Uber and Beaver Boy. Congrats to Legion as well. You know, having that again, I didn't actually get to see it properly, but having that knock on that first lap, find himself at the back, and you know, ended up in 2nd place. Really well done there, and well done everyone as well.
He'd be holding there probably quite confident at the first lap, knowing that he's still got the entire race to catch up and backing his skills, which made well. And even though we didn't see him a lot, well done to Kevin. Fantastic race, just to hold almost a minute. Yeah.
You can't say congrats to everyone with ignoring Kevin being so far in front. Really, really good race from him. And yeah, no, it was fun to watch him. It's a shame again that it'll probably be nice for him if he had someone to compete with as well. So hopefully, when we come around and watch it on next season, Legion and a couple of others are a bit more acclimatised to the wheel, and maybe picked up their pace as well. So it'll be good to see them competing at the top as well. But we had a really interesting fight for 2nd place. Like personally at the start, I called it for Jonesy, and I thought it was going to be Jonesy up until really the last couple of laps when a Legion seemed to come out of nowhere. So yeah, no, a fun race overall. Thoroughly enjoyed watching it, and congrats to everyone who took part, from anyone who was at the start to anyone who was at the back. Everyone seemed to be trying the best and put them a win. So congrats everyone. Cheers to everyone as well in chat for your time. Really appreciated. Really appreciated your time, and really appreciated you taking part and engaging. You know, don't feel afraid. You know, next time you find yourself in stream, if you're one of the silent lurkers in the background, don't forget to speak up in chat. We're always up for having a bit of a chinwag and stuff. But this has been today's stream. We've been streaming on Amigos Racing Team Media. So if you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to watch more racing videos and stuff. A commentary on myself, you'll find my own channel in the description below. Under the link ArbieG Racing, where I do a bunch of GT videos, more sort of charting my own progress through GT Sport. And if you've got interest in that, just feel free to drop into that as well. And thank you, Alistair, as well, for your time coming in and dropping in. Often as a bit of support, a bit of love. Really appreciate it, man.
Been a pleasure. Don't know too much about the racing tactics, but it's always good to to throw my 2 cents every now and
bring
then.
you for your beautiful voice and how it will attract all the honeys. And when I say honeys, I mean obviously a jar of, as opposed to
Of course.
a derogative term for females. Anyway, before I digress into areas we don't need to go to, thank you everyone for joining in. This has been this week's stream. We'll be back with a special event next week. I think Elite will share it in the Discord, so don't forget to join that, the Amigos Discord. He'll share, I think he's already shared what the event is, so don't forget to sign up for that if you're interested in signing up, taking part in the special event, which I think is a one-make race, and I can't remember where from the top of my head. Maybe we should do that a bit as preparation in for next week, but it is what it is. But thanks everyone for joining in. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday. Cheers.